Alright, in this video, I'm going to go over some key things that you'll have to know to complete your review practice assignment. And then there's also a check-in just to review all the concepts on D2L as well. Alright, looking at question number 1, it says find the square of each number. When a question asks you to find a square of a number, all you're going to do is, let's say you have a number, you're just going to square it. Okay, and when you square a number, that means you're multiplying the number by itself twice like this, and your final answer is 25. And you're going to do that with all these other numbers as well. Okay, remember this is here for you to practice and review. Okay, you're not expected to complete all of it if you think you don't need it. Okay, but it will be really beneficial for you to complete it to see how much you remember and what topics you might have to review before grade 9 math. Right, moving on, if it says which numbers below are perfect squares, remember definitions of perfect squares. It's a number when you square root it, okay, you get, it's a product of two rational numbers, okay? So let's say, remember our list of perfect squares that we made? 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, and so on are perfect squares. See which of these numbers, A, B, C, or D, are perfect squares as you go down your list of perfect squares, okay? When a question says to find a square root of each number, all you're going to do is square root these numbers and find the square roots of them, okay? The square root of 16 is 4, 7, and so on with the other numbers, okay? Alright, and then number 4, give your answers to 2 decimal places where needed, okay? Rounding is an important skill as well, okay? So once you get your answers using a calculator, or if you're using mental math, that's fine too, okay? Make sure your number has up to 2 decimal places if needed, okay? If it's just a whole number, if you get a perfect whole number after you square root it, you can leave it like that. List the factors of each number below in order from least to greatest. Remember, factors are numbers that multiply to get that number. Okay, so let's say I'm going to list factors of 20. It's going to be 1 and 20, 2 and 10, and then there's 4 and 5. So these are factors of 20. Okay, and then once you list all your factors, which of them are square numbers? Okay, square numbers are, remember, when you have, so 20, for example, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 factors, right? Square numbers should have odd number of factors, and I want you to think about why, okay? All right, and then we move on to number 6. It says the length of the hypotenuse of a right triangle is 15 centimeters. The length of the legs are whole numbers of centimeters. Find the sum of the areas of the square on the legs of the triangle. What are the length of the legs? Show your work. Okay, so for this one, you're going to draw your triangle. Okay, it's a right triangle, and it's saying the hypotenuse is 15 centimeters. Okay, and then the length of the legs are whole numbers. Okay, so these two must be whole numbers. Okay, and then it says find the sum of the area of the squares on the legs. Remember how we drew squares like this? Okay, and squares like this. Okay, the area of this square is going to be this length times square. So this length squared plus this length squared should give you this length squared. Okay, so thinking about that, see if you can complete that question. Okay, and then the next question is continuation of Pythagorean theorem. Just remember that that is a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared, and c is your hypotenuse. Okay, and a and b are your legs. Okay, all right, moving on. Again, number 8 is a word problem involving a Pythagorean theorem. It's asking for how long each ramp is, okay? So the parking garage in a shopping mall has ramps from one levels to next. So it looks like these are the ramps, and you have to figure out their length. So what you have to do is kind of visualize a right triangle and find out their lengths, okay? Visualize a right triangle. Again for this one and for this one, and you're just going to find the hypotenuse of this triangle, this triangle, this triangle, this triangle, this triangle. Okay. All right, and that's the squares and square roots unit. And then when we move on to integers, what you're going to remember is when we're working with integers, when you have positive times a negative, you get a negative number. Negative times a positive also gives you negative. But positive times a positive will give you a positive. Negative times a negative will give you a negative. Okay, that's what you have to remember for multiplying and dividing integers. When you're adding and subtracting, again, this is a review from grade 7, but you will definitely need it for grade 9, okay? So when you're, let's say, subtracting integers, okay, if we have negative 5 minus negative 3, okay, we're going to add the opposite. Okay, so that makes it 5 plus the opposite of negative 3 gives us just positive 3. So that makes positive 8. Okay. When you're adding two negatives, so let's say we have negative 2 plus negative 4, you already have a negative number and you're adding another negative 4 to it. So you're going to go into more negative. So this becomes negative 6. Okay. So apply that when you're working with integers, please. All right. And then that's just the word problem on number 12. Operations with fractions. All right, this is where we left off last time we were in a classroom together, right? Just going over how to write mixed numbers as an improper fraction. This is important because you have to do this when you're working with fractions, right? It's easiest for you to multiply, divide fractions when they're in an improper fraction form, right? Okay, so let's say I have a mixed number of 3 and 1/4, okay? To get to an improper fraction, I'm going to multiply my denominator by the whole number in the front. So I'm going to go 3 times 4. And then I'm going to add the numerator. And my denominator stays the same. Okay, and I have 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13 over 4. Because remember, when we draw this out, let's say we have, actually, let's use a square. Okay, let's say we have 3 whole squares. Okay, and then so we have 3 whole squares colored in, and then 1/4 of it colored in. Okay, that's what it means when we have 3 wholes and 1/4, right? Improper fraction, we're just counting how many little squares are colored in. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 colored in total, and each square is divided into 4 parts. That's why we have 13 over 4 as our improper fraction. Okay, so using this method, see if you can make these mixed numbers into an improper fraction. Okay, again, when you are evaluating fraction operations, you always have to follow BEDMAS. Okay, if you are struggling with these guys, make sure you refer back to our week 1 and 2 lessons, okay, because we did wrap up fractions while we did some ongoing learning. Okay. And those are the word problems. All right, and then measuring surface area of prisms and cylinders. Okay, surface area is the total area of a 3D object, right? Total surface area of a 3D object. So this rectangular prism is shown as a net, okay? Each of the side is the surface of that rectangular prism. So to get the total surface area, all you're gonna do is add up all these sides. Same thing for this triangular prism and for the cylinders, okay? It's pretty simple when you are given the areas because all you're doing is adding up the areas that's already given to you, okay? Unless sometimes you might not be given the area of them, okay? You might be given the dimensions. If you're given the dimensions, you have to calculate the area of each of the rectangles and then add it up, okay? And then volume of each cylinder. Remember, volume is going to be area of the base times height, and that is area of the base in this case is a circle, so we're going to go pi r squared times height, okay? But this case, your area is already given, so you can just plug this into area and times it by the height. So multiply these two to get the volume. Okay, in this case, your diameter is 4, so your radius is 2. So you're gonna put it into pi r squared times h, where r is 2, your radius, and your height is the height of the cylinder. Okay, so you're gonna use that information to solve that one. Number 21 is giving you a dimension of a rectangular prism, okay, because it's a sandbox, so you can just briefly draw it, okay, but remember the units, okay, they're all different, meters, and centimeters, so maybe we can change these into 200 centimeters, 300 centimeters, so you kind of have an idea, okay, so we're going to make this diagram a little more realistic to the dimensions. So if it's 2 meters by 3 meters and 25 centimeters up, it's going to be pretty big, okay, and pretty short like this, okay? So this means that this is 300 centimeters, this is 200 centimeters, and the height is 25 centimeters. With these dimensions, calculate the area of each of the rectangles on the sandbox and then add it together. Okay. All right. And then unit rate. Unit rate is when you have a measurement over another measurement. Okay. When it says a unit rate, it means the bottom measurement has to be per 1 week, per 1 hour, per $1, etc. Okay. So this one is showing you right now it is $399 per 3 weeks. Okay, you're going to simplify it so that this is equal to per 1 week. Okay, in order for the 3 to become 1, you have to divide it by 3. You're going to do the same to the top and divide it by 3. And you're going to get $133 per week. Okay, so find the unit rate for these guys over here. Percent of a number. Remember, percent is out of divided by 100, okay, percent. Okay, so 165% is the same thing as 165 over 100. When you have the word of in math, you're multiplying, okay, and then you're multiplying the number 80 and you get the percent of that number. Okay. To compare which is a better buy, you need to find out the unit rate and then compare. And then rest of it is solving equations with graphing. Okay, I just want to go over the distributive property with you, okay? Some of you, I know a lot of you did this correctly, but some of you were confused sometimes. That 7, the number in front of the bracket has to be applied to every term in the bracket, not just the first one, but both of the terms. So this actually gives us 7 times x, which is 7x, and then plus 7 times 2, which is 14. Some of you have left it as 7x plus 7 times 2, but we know what 7 times 2 is, right? So simplify it as much as we can, like this, okay? So 7x plus 14 is what the distributive property gives us, and then that's equal to 35, and then from there you're going to solve for x, okay? If you need extra help with these guys, remember to refer to the last couple of videos that we posted on D2L.